Do you want to do our little intro? Do you even remember it?
No.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to the SewinSisters channel. Sewing without the G, it's not hard to pronounce.
Sewing without the G. It's not hard to pronounce.
It's not hard to pronounce.
You got this.
You got this.
What's up, Sewing Squad? What's up? Welcome back to Story Time because
Cozy story time.
cozy story time. It got fire, featuring not only fire and fidget toys, but the worst accents you've ever heard in your life. Anyway, so for today's story time, we wanted to do the story, and by we, I mean I chose it, and she just went along with it.
That's how most things happen.
Of how each of us got into cosplay in the first place. So I got into cosplay first, so I'll start. My story's not necessarily very much as interesting as your story. Well, as I think, because you wrote your entire college entrance essay on this,
Yeah.
so it's like a big deal for you.
Sort of. Well, kind of. I mean, yeah. It was like the beginning,
Yeah.
the origin.
What's what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Why don't you talk about your first Cat cosplay? Where you went like,
I'm sorry.
what? And that was it.
No, I'm taking it all the way back to Italia, dude.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, story goes, for me, that I actually once upon a time tried to find the first time I ever dressed up as a pop culture character, you know, what most people would consider cosplay. Bonus points if it was not on Halloween. The problem is the fact that I kept finding older and older and older pictures, so I don't 100% know what the first time I dressed up as a pop culture character not on Halloween, it's a cosplay kind of moment was. My best guess is when I was 6 years old. I dressed up as the little girl from Dragon Tales because I wanted to go to Dragonland, and I thought that if I looked like the girl who went to Dragonland, the magic that took her there would mistake me for the girl, and that I would go to Dragonland. Spoiler alert, never made it there. It didn't work. I don't know, maybe I didn't do my little chant right. Maybe my dragon scale was made too much of crayon instead of dragon scales, but whatever. I didn't know what cosplay was at the time, so even though that is the first time I ever did something that would have been considered cosplay, I don't necessarily consider that how I got into cosplay. So, you know, for the sake of this story, everything that I just said is completely fucking irrelevant.
Disregard everything.
Because I'm fucking incapable of not talking out my arse for 30 minutes. The first, when I was younger and I had my parents' permission before going online, I discovered that there was this thing called cosplay. And the problem was, I, honest to God, thought cosplay meant shitty dressing up as your character. I saw, you would Google image search cosplay, and a lot of the stuff that would come up isn't oh my god, look at how amazing this cosplayer is, which is a lot of what it is now, I think. I haven't done it in a while. But a lot of it at the time was, haha, look at these fucking weirdos who are dressing up as anime characters out of season kind of a deal. And you know, the weirdos were just normal people trying to enjoy their life, and they weren't necessarily the best, and a lot of them were doing it for the lulz and stuff.
For the lulz?
For the lulz. I saw a lot of very buff hairy men in Sailor Scouts uniforms.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in a group.
And it took me a long time of being on the internet to learn what cosplay actually was before I ended up doing it. The first time I ever did cosplay, knowing what cosplay was, I was in middle school. I was in 7th, 8th grade maybe, and I was really into Italia at the time. And I can't remember officially if it was Ukraine or Femme America that I did first, because I was in anime club and we were encouraged to do that if we wanted to, and I was like, why the fuck not? Except dress code. And you know, Femme America is not public school appropriate, so nobody had any idea who I was. I don't think that was it. Again, disregard everything I say. But I was on DeviantArt at the time, and I managed to find a group of Italia fans who were planning a meetup, and they were gonna go meet up in Zilker Park. Zilker Park was like the place for nerds to meet up for a really long time if you lived in Austin, and it was a cosplay meetup for Italia, and I was like, hell yeah, and I joined the group, and I went as Ukraine to that event, and I was also really pleased with my like situation because that was one of the most memorable moments in which I was like, oh, my mom is actually the coolest. Because I would have been like 14 years old, and I was like, I need to have huge badonka-donka knockers. And my mom was like, I know how to help that. And she just started stuffing my bra with like shoulder pads from like the 70s. No questions asked. So I was like, not only does she trust me to not do stupid things with my now magnified badonkadonks, but she is like actively helping me do this thing that she doesn't even really 100% understand why I'm doing in the first place.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. So it was really, if you've ever seen Ukraine from Italia, you have a vague concept. Maybe I'll like post an image in the video, and maybe I'll post my cosplay just because I love you. Not exactly super comparable. There were a lot of things that weren't working out for me. It was whatever the hell, but it was baby's first cosplay, okay? And we went to this meetup. We were like late for some reason. I don't even remember why. Neither of us had wigs. The meetup was really boring. It was just honestly really boring and poorly run, and there was supposed to be like this little dance thing, but nobody learned the dance, and I really don't remember a single goddamn bit of it.
Well, I went to the meetup too, and I was like,
You a baby.
11?
You a
I
baby.
was 11, I think. And I dressed up as Chibi Italy from Italia, and I only had the knowledge that she gave me of Italia, her barfed up knowledge. I just was like, thanks God. And I watched like a few like funny YouTube videos of parts of Italia, and so I knew like bits and pieces, and I was like, I like Chibi Italy, they're cute, I want to cosplay them. And so I did, kind of, and we didn't have wigs, as was stated, so.
And your hair was long, and Chibi's
my
was short.
hair was like long and blonde, and my mom was like, I know how to fix that. And so we put it up in like braids that like went up here, and then we put it like on top to make it look short, and then we spray painted it red. And
Like Party City.
Yeah.
Hair spray paint.
I looked kind of like I looked like a child. I was a child.
Baby's first cosplay.
Baby's first
it looked
cosplay.
like what you'd expect. I think the thing about this that it makes it memorable as our first is that both of us looked so bad that we were like, we have to do it again, just because we need to redeem ourselves. And so like we pretty much immediately bought you a wig.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and
oh, I remember one
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
from the meetup that I really remembered and liked was that the Death the Kid cosplayer gave me a piggyback ride.
I don't remember that.
That was the thing I remembered, and that was pretty much it.
But that was our first ever time meeting up with other cosplayers and first ever time cosplaying. We decided that was bad and that we needed to do better, and then we started putting forth a lot of effort into being better. We never really did better Italia cosplays. Like we got that Chibi Italy wig, and I don't think we ever once used it for Italy. I think we lost the curl like immediately. Not immediately, but like we never used it.
Her Italia hyperfixation dissipated very quickly.
Well, no, it actually stuck around for a really long time. It's just that the meetups never happened again, and I didn't know about cons at the time, and so there was no place to ever go to an Italian meetup ever again. Anyway, so there were no Italian meetups, and there was no other opportunity to cosplay Italia, and so we like thought about it, and we tried to put effort into it. I can't remember if I ever got around to buying a Prussia wig or not.
You did.
So yeah, that's how that happened. You know, that was the first ever instance, and then we never really cosplayed Italia ever again. But the fire had been lit in us to do better, and ha 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 ha.
That's not funny. Stop laughing.
Stop laughing! Stop laughing! Stop
image of Hitalia and Homestuck, you can imagine how seamless that transition was for me, just given the way that the fandoms interacted with each other. And also the fact that I had a Tumblr account at that point. I transitioned from DeviantArt to Tumblr, went from Hitalia to Homestuck, you know, like a gateway drug.
I specifically remember that this was around the time that my sister was getting around to not hating me, as I was the annoying younger sister.
You had a lot going on.
I had a lot going on. I still do. But I specifically remember she would talk to me about like Hitalia specifically, and so if I wanted to have sister time, I would be like, "Tell me about your hyperfixation." But then she
I've got
stopped.
this bitch hacked.
She stopped talking to me, and I specifically remember we were on a family trip to Hawaii, but my sister's best friend at the time came with us, and you guys were both on the bed in the room by yourself, and you were like giggling at your phones.
We're talking about Homestuck.
And I came in the room, and I was like, "What are you giggling about?" And then you and were like, "Should we tell her? She's too young. Should we tell her?" I was like 12.
Yeah.
And then you told me.
I have always had, I think, up until, you know, you became a legal adult, you're 4 years younger than me, and so I've always had this kind of internal battle of how much to include you in my life versus how much to not include you in my life. Like, you know, I distinctly remember there was one time where I wanted to show you an Eddsworld video, and I like had my hand hovering over the mute button
Yep.
on the computer, and I muted out every cuss word
Yep.
in the video. I had the video that memorized.
And then our dad found out that I was watching Eddsworld by myself, and he was like, "Don't do that. They curse."
Cease and desist.
Cease and desist.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Hitalia, because obviously there's a lot of cuss words in Hitalia too. And then, you know, Homestuck as well. Like, Homestuck, the canon material, other than cussing, is not necessarily that bad, but I was engaged in a very sexual side of the fandom.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why, you know, we were like, do we tell you, do we not tell you? Because I'm constantly trying to think of ways to filter what I say so that it is age appropriate. You know, like you can, if you're looking at not safe for work art of a ship and your sibling is like, oh, what are you doing? You can be like, well, I'm looking at ship fan art. You don't have to tell them that it's porn. You don't have to show them.
I'm looking at porn.
I do that now.
Yeah. And she's like, "I'm looking at porn, you wanna see?"
You wanna see? So, got into Homestuck. And the Homestuck fandom was very similar to Hitalia and comparable. But it was a lot more active. And I had a lot more friends who were into Homestuck rather than Hitalia. Like, that's one of the reasons why I started watching it. Watching it. Because everyone around me was just falling like dominoes. That was a good one, by the way.
Thank you.
And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going down with the ship. And I went down, and there was I think it was Halloween. I think Halloween was the first time. No, it wasn't Halloween.
It was Red Fest.
No, it was the 413 meetup.
Oh.
Yeah, because Carcat came first, and then Terezi happened.
Yeah.
So I got into Homestuck, and I had a friend who was like, oh my god, you should come to the 413 meetup, which was, you know, basically exactly like the Hitalia meetup. It was held in Silker Park. It was a bunch of nerds just getting together and cosplaying and hanging out. And that was the year that I had hands-on housing, and I didn't show up on time, and I didn't have any gray paint, but I wanted to do Carcat, and I didn't have a wig. And I didn't have the right like sweater either, so literally, I'll post another picture just for funsies, but
The one where you're like this.
yeah, the only picture that exists of that outfit. I'm wearing my friend's short sleeve Cancer t-shirt that is too small for me. I have no makeup on except for some like really ugly eye bags, no binder, 'cause I didn't have one of those. And we'd taken my I had a Karen haircut, and we just, again, Party City spray painted my hair. And I went to this meetup, I was late, literally everything was over, and somehow I managed to have this hella fun time. I met a guy who later became my boyfriend for like a year total, and I was just kind of intrigued by the social aspect of it. So, at the end of this meetup, everybody went to go out to dinner, and you weren't there. and I told my friend, I was like, I did not really have a fun time being Carcat. You know, there were a couple cringy moments that stuck with me. I literally didn't know what 413 was, why it was a celebration. But I was like, I didn't really have a fun time as Carcat, but I really want to try Terezi. I think that I could portray Terezi really well. I think I have a little bit of Terezi in me. And my friend goes, I think you have a lot of Terezi in you. And there was this like blanket confidence in her statement, and I was like, oh, bet. And that Halloween, cut from like 413 to Halloween, and I decide, not only am I going to do Terezi, I'm going to do Flarp Terezi.
Flarperezi.
Because I didn't have to wear arm socks as Flarp Terezi. And also it was Halloween, and I didn't fancy the idea of wearing a completely black outfit in the dark. And I was like, people will definitely see me if I'm red and teal. And so I borrowed some gray paint. My natural hair was the right length. We brought back the spray hair.
No, you dyed your hair with Manic Panic, remember? And then it turned green.
The first time?
Or maybe the second time.
Because I think it was like the third time that I did Terezi. Because I did Terezi several times in a row. I think the first time I spray painted it. I hairsprayed it.
Yeah.
And this was right when Homestuck was super, super popular. And so I was Terezi to school for Halloween, which all of my friends knew Homestuck, and a lot of people I didn't know knew Homestuck. And I got such amazing feedback that I was like, I have to do this again. And the next opportunity was the Renaissance Festival. So I did Terezi to the Renaissance Festival. Same level of feedback. It was follow the dopamine, if you will. I got such a dopamine rush from everyone. Like I said, Homestuck was popular at the time. We took bets on how many people would recognize a Homestuck character at the Renaissance Festival, because I assumed it would only be like 5 people, and it was like 25 to 30. I think it was 25 people recognized it, and 30 people asked for a picture. And then I thought, well, I have to do this again. This is so much fun. I was definitely getting, I don't want to say addicted, but like addicted.
Dopamine.
And my friends were like, hey, you know, IkiCon is in Austin, right? And I believe this is where your part of the story kicks in, because I did this, and you were kind of watching me have a shitload of enjoyment out of it. I went to IkiCon. I had this amazing time, this amazing memory, the first con I ever went to, and I came home like on a social high, just completely. I was probably like telling you hella stories as I like derobed and got in the shower and took my gray off.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't the first cosplay I'd ever done. It was the first cosplay I ever really, really, really put effort into. You know, I bought like $60 shoes for this cosplay because I needed knee-high red boots that were out of season. That was the first time I'd ever made a prop. I made Terezi's cane, and I like swung it around my frickin' school. It was a sword cane too, by the way.
Came apart.
Yeah.
Had blood on it.
Had blood on it. And then IkiCon, and like I'm assuming I'm putting pictures in this video, but like all the cosplays were like kind of bad in different ways, but there was such a positive reaction from the people around me that it was just infectious. And I think this is where you take over with your story. Your crown.
College essay time.
It's your time to shine.
This is where my kindling fire was lit.